other than finding close to 9,000 grams per ton silver, over 4 grams gold in channel samples, we found the presence of arsenic. And that's really important in geology, because that gives you the indication that the precious metals now is below. So we feel like we have this 500 meters of elevation really trapped in where we're going to find our top intercepts. So we're getting really excited and to get back the drill, get it out, get this thing going again, because the entire sector has been in hibernation mode and it's time to go on the offensive.
The Financial Survival Network. Now more than ever. The Financial Survival Network.
And welcome. This is Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz, and we have an update from a company that we used to work with pretty closely, but we bumped into each other a while ago. Wanted to get Peter Dembicki on, CEO of Tier 1 Silver. And Peter, it was great to see you down in Florida, and figured it was time for an update. Even though we haven't done much together recently, I just wanted to make sure that the FSN members, some of whom have invested in the company, get the latest updates. So you just had some really impressive channel samplings recently.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Kerry, for having me back. And, for all of your loyal followers and supporters of Tier 1, it's important that, we haven't gone anywhere. Even though the market has been less than fun the last few years, when capital gets pulled out of these kind of venture markets and risk on goes away for a little bit, it gets tough. And it's been an extremely humbling experience being CEO of a company in this sector. But it feels like, there's a pulse. Things are coming back. And, didn't think my phone was working at $17 silver. Got a couple calls incoming when it's, 25, 26. April, May was a nice little bump. It felt like we were on the verge of something there. It cools off over the summer, but here we go, taking the next leg up. This one feels different because of the move that gold has put in. So it really feels like silver is going to start playing serious catch up here. And we might see that whipsaw higher in a big way. So Tier 1 itself, for those of your newer listeners, we're an aggressive exploration company focused on finding the next world-class silver discovery based in Peru. We had a tremendous first pass of drilling when we launched our program almost 3 years ago, and came out with plus kilo silver, good grades of gold, and the potential for a big copper porphyry discovery as well. And then the markets, pulled out from under our feet, and it was survival mode, to be honest. But we've gotten through it. We never changed a thing. It's 100% owned project. We leaned out, and now we're back on the offensive. So really, for a reminder on the project, we came out with extreme high grade early results. But really, we've hired these two world-class consultants to come down to our property and say, give us an unbiased view of what we got in our hands here. They both came back and said, this is a story about elevation. It's a story about erosion. All of your top intercepts came around 1,900 meters in elevation. And again, you ask any Peruvian about that elevation, they call it beachfront, because these guys are used to operating at, 5,000 meters in elevation. So 1,900 meters, about the same elevation as Denver, Colorado. It's very accessible, close to the coast, close to the highway, great terrain to work in. But with our drill results, we were hitting very, very shallow, but not at depth. So where are we going to go to find our kind of meteor intercepts that are really going to put us on the map? And they said, if you go north on your property to this Kembaya corridor, there's another 500 meters of elevation that you can attack that has not yet been eroded away. So we ran up there over this past year. We did lots of testing, mapping, channel sampling, rock chip sampling, and just came back a couple of days ago with our results. And, it really nailed the thesis. Other than finding close to 9,000 grams per ton silver, over 4 grams gold in channel samples, we found the presence of arsenic. And that's really important in geology, because that gives you the indication that the precious metals now is below. So we feel like we have this 500 meters of elevation really trapped in where we're going to find our top intercepts. So we're getting really excited and to get back the drill, get it out, get this thing going again, because the entire sector has been in hibernation mode, and it's time to go on the offensive.
Right. So drilling, when do you anticipate resumption?
Yeah, so I mean, drilling is not cheap anywhere in the world, and so we need to recapitalize before we bring out the drill. But it's looking pretty good. So you'll be hearing lots from us in the near future here. But we really want to go attack this thing. We can drill all year round at site. So it's 3 weeks heads up to all the contractors to get going. We're fully permitted, drill permit, environmental permitted, social agreement was just re-signed, which is so important, especially in South America, that you have that on lockdown. So we're ready to go. So it's just going to take a little capital to get us going. And we're looking to do another 3,500, 4,000 meters of drilling to really go hunt for that big silver grade.
And the political situation in Peru, unlike other countries, actually pretty favorable. I think it gets painted with the same brush as other countries that have been restricting the mining, but Peru seems to be encouraging it.
Oh, Kerry, I mean, I'm sure we had a call, 2.5 years ago, and we might not be taking the same thing. I was telling, investors to hold on, not to worry, because you read in the papers about, turmoil in the streets, blockades of mines. But as my esteemed colleague and famous geologist, Christian Rios, who's on the ground in Peru, he's like, Peter, just wait a few weeks. These protests aren't grassroots, passionate protests. These things have an agenda in mind, and it's politically based. It involves Bolivia. There's a lot going on. Anytime a new cabinet minister and a new president gets appointed, the Ministry of Mines shifts and all new appointees come in. And who doesn't like that story? And that's usually the illegal miners in the country, because that's usually job number one of the president, to get rid of illegal mining. So who's funding these protests? And there's always somebody who benefits, anytime we see these kind of protests happening. So you wait out a few weeks, people stop getting paid to cause ruckus, and things go back to normal. And so for the past year and a half, it's been extremely boring, which I love. I love boring politics. And I know we're not used to boring politics in North America, but it's been really nice. So Dina Boluarte, the former vice president, who's now president, sitting president, very centrist, not making any big moves, which is great. There is an election next year. But the front runners in place right now are centrist or more right wing. So it's looking like Peru pendulum is kind of swinging back to the center after a couple tough years with a scary individual in place there.
Yeah, well, politics in Latin America is often like the weather in South Florida. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes.
No kidding. I think I'm on my third Peruvian president since I've been CEO of Tier 1. And you're exactly right. Just wait a couple of years, don't get used to it. But, as one of our bigger shareholders, Ross Beatty, and a famous investor and has lots of operations in Latin America and especially in Peru, says, politics in Peru is a short-term game, mining is a long-term game, don't sweat it. And anytime you do see turmoil, in Peru politically, take a look at the big producers, see what their share prices are doing, and usually they don't budge. It's because the real money knows that nothing really is going to be done one way or the other.
Yeah, and when we last spoke, you mentioned $17 silver. Now we had silver hit $35, which is a key psychological mark. It broke resistance somewhere between $32.50, $33.50, and right now it's $33 and change. So this changes the economics of everything, doesn't it?
Sure does. Man, psychology and investing plays a wicked game with you. My former background, being an investment advisor, I know all about it. People won't want to dig into a company that they really like or take that risk. But once it moves up 10, 20, 30%, then they feel comfortable it's on the right track. But they could have had a huge discount if they came in earlier. But again, that's the psychology of it. But here we are, silver's, making its move. People are now taking a look around and saying, okay, what's my top silver holdings going to be as far as a producer, a developer, and an exploration company? I want grade, I want good jurisdiction, but most of them, and foremost, is I want good people. I want good management that knows how to run a good company, and that's where we really stand out.
Yeah, totally. Couldn't agree with you more. Imagine if the price goes up another 50%. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many arguments, and I'm sure you and I have gone down the same rabbit holes with all the big silver bugs out there, saying, $100 silver or $1,000 silver. There's reasonings for it. But as we know, nothing goes up in a straight line. So we had a heck of a run to get to 35, let it cool, let it settle a little bit, and let's take the next leg up. It only helps company like us, even though we're exploration and we're not producing the metal, there is a fantastic correlation to silver companies and the price of silver. And again, people really want to find their next silver investment. I just came from a conference in New York City, and silver is very, very topical, as we've seen other sectors kind of peter out a little bit. Lithium and copper is taking a bit of a breather, but silver is on the front of everybody's mind right now.
And Eric Sprott's calling for $300 silver.
Wow.
He might be a little off, but really, when you go back and you see that gold is certainly at nominal highs in the mid 2700s, silver hasn't even. It's just approaching. It's at 65% of its all-time high. This seems like a dramatic misvaluation or underpricing by the market.
For sure. And when you go through all your technical skills and looking at where silver could go, so many things come in mind. Interest rates getting cut. Well, we're going through that process right now. We should see more cuts coming in the future. We have obviously a big election coming up. How that sways things, I'm not sure. We have a very, very strong US dollar at the moment. Depending on who gets into the White House, that could change things dramatically. And all these things, are perfectly correlated inversely to the price of silver. And just the fact that silver has a lot of catch up to play. We look at that gold silver ratio over time. I forget what the mean is. I think it's around 60 to 1. I think we're hovering around 80 to 1 at this point. So a lot of room to go on many different metrics for silver to take another leg higher. So I think we all know it's heading that direction.
Yeah, not a question. Is never in doubt, and it's pretty exciting to watch. But the market moves when the market moves. So in any event, you definitely want to go over to the company's website, sign up for notifications. You can monitor the drill program once that resumes. It's tier1silver.com. Ticker symbol US, TSLVF, and of course in Canada, TSLV. Peter, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the catch up. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Kerry.
The Financial Survival Network.